What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a special edition of the Wrestling Junkies Podcast. I'm Mr. Cincinnati, and conspicuous by his absence is the podcast dad, who's a little under the weather today. But nonetheless, I get to have all the fun today. Feel better soon, buddy. It's that time of the week. Again, is our favorite thing to do on this show. It is to get to talk to people in the wrestling business. My next guest, we have orbited in circles for a very, very, very long time. He is commentator for New South Pro Wrestling, TWE in Chattanooga, Crossfire Wrestling, Retinal Pro Wrestling, Lariato Pro Wrestling. The list goes on and on and on. He is the broken standard, Rob Weathers. How are you, my friend? Welcome to the show.
Mr. Cincinnati, what a pleasure. It's been, like you said, dude, it's been a while. Like, I remember Bryce was telling me about you guys, I don't know how long ago. And I seen like every time I turn around, like you guys are putting me over on a regular basis. And I'm like, why have I never been on the show? Like I watched the interview with Carmen. I think it was Podcast Dad was like, so what's it like working with Rob Weathers? And I'm like, brother, bring me on and ask me.
Well, yeah, no, this is an absolute pleasure, and I'm sure that Chris is going to be really, really sad that he missed this, but that just means that you get to come on the live stream after this. You know, that's just kind of the next step that we've done after these interviews. But now let's get right on into it. We've been dancing around this enough, so. Basically, I mean, here at the Wrestling Junkies, we look at anybody in the wrestling business. They're superheroes, they're supervillains. They all have these roles within the industry, but every one of them has an origin story. So, Rob, tell me about some of your earliest memories of pro wrestling.
So, dude, and I love this story because I love how it ties in after I broke in. So, the first ever time I ever saw anything pro wrestling related on television, I was 7 or 8 years old. So it was late 90s. I was born in 91. So like heat of the Attitude Era, right?
Yeah.
And my dad had this friend who was trying to convince my dad to start watching wrestling. My dad hadn't watched since like the late 80s. And he was like, I'm not watching that, say your prayers, eat your vitamin bull crap. And he's like, nah, dude, you don't understand. They got this new group called D-Generation X. They tell everybody to suck their dicks. It's awesome. And so he brings over the Coliseum VHS tape of DX with like Shawn Michaels butt naked on the cover and shit. He brings that over and I walk in the room while it's showing the scene from Raw. I think it was like a week or two after Mania where the New Age Outlaws and X-Pac are taking a piss on DOA's motorcycles.
Oh, yeah.
That's the very first anything wrestling I ever saw in my life. And I was like, whatever the hell this is, it looks like something I shouldn't be allowed to watch. So naturally, I really, really want to watch it. Yeah. And then just a cool little note, a little ribbon on that is fast forward 20 something years later. And in 2022, I got to, as for right now, at least, hopefully he doesn't get fired again. I got to be the only independent wrestling commentator ever to call an entire show with Road Dogg. Still,
oh, wow.
As long as he stays in the Fed, I'll still hold that title.
Okay.
And I've got to call a couple of Billy Gunn matches since then. So I just need X-Pac, and I've got the whole thing done.
That is all right. Yeah, we're definitely gonna come back to that later. But so obviously super fan. You got to have the passion for this, and that very clearly shows in what you do in your work. What was the inspiration to get into the broadcast booth as opposed to thinking about a career in ring?
You know what's crazy is Richard Holiday asked me that question. Not the name drop. I'm probably going to do it a few times. Richard Holiday asked me that question 3 days ago. And I said, nobody's ever actually asked me that. Because he goes, so was it always broadcasting? And no, it wasn't. So like, obviously, like when we're all kids and we see wrestling, like we want to do that. We want to get in the ring and wrestle. I remember being 13 or 14 wrestling with my little brother on the trampoline, almost broke his neck with a Batista bomb. And I was like, dude, I got to do this, man. This is awesome. And like, I got older. So I remember like I moved to Georgia back in 2018 and I was 27 at the time. Right before I moved, I remember telling my whole family I was working as a video game tester. And I was like, man, if I'm not happy with my career by the time I turn 30, I got to find some way to get into wrestling. Now, I was living in Louisiana. I think the only school around was maybe Wildcat, which I didn't really know anything about. Mm-hmm. I was like, closest, I'm going to have to drive to Houston and go train with Booker T. Like, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to figure it out. So then I moved to Georgia, get a better job in the video game industry, making money and everything. But, still was never really happy with it. But I was realistic in the fact that, I've always been an overweight kid. And I was always like, when I broke in, I was so much heavier than I am right now, which is crazy to think about. Like I was well over 400 pounds when I broke in. And I was realistic. I was like, my knees are shot. I got a bad back. There's no way this is going to happen. But I was like,
Yeah.
I can talk some shit though.
Sure.
Like if I can do anything, I can run my mouth, ring announcing, commentary, managing, something. I just want to do anything that involves talking. And I had no idea what I wanted to really do. And then, fast forward, get the chance to meet Doc Gallows, which gets me the opportunity to work on the Talking Shop Patreon page, get the chance to host their after show and help film content for their page. And that got me in with him. And at the time, Gallows was running Lariato Pro out here. And I just shot my shot. And I was like, dude, I go to these shows as a fan all the time. I'd love the opportunity just to come in and I'll help set up the ring, set up chairs. I'll work your merch booth. I don't give a damn. Just I want in. And he said, I'm going to take you up on that offer. Call times 2. And then I just started doing it. And for a few months, I'd just show up and I'd help out wherever I could, film some content for the Patreon page while I was there. And one day, the fabulous Playboy Bob Keller, who was their play-by-play at the time, came up to me in the locker room like 15 minutes before we went live. It was the first night of the Aces and Eights reunion tour. And he comes out and he goes, Rob, it's a damn shame you don't have a suit because I could really use you on color tonight. Because he knew I could talk. He had been on the podcast with me before. And I was like, you don't need a suit. Jerry Lawler never wore a suit. He says, that's a good point. You're doing color. So just like that, 15 minutes to go, he was just like, look, you're at the shows. You know the stories that we're telling. You know what's going on. Just I'll throw shit to you and you just say stuff. And then I did it my first match I ever got to call was Johnny Swinger versus John Schuyler. And the first main event I ever got to call was an Aces and Eights reunion match with D'Lo Brown and Mike Knox and Gallows taking on a young stud tag team of Bryce Cannon, Pretty Boy Matt Odom, and Wolverton. And I fell in love. And I was like, this is it. This is the thing. I didn't know if this is it though. I was like, I love that so much because I've always been a storyteller. I've been a musician for like 20 years. I love songwriting. I did drama when I was in high school. I love telling stories, and getting to do this was just like, I was like, this is the next logical step. And then just fell in love with commentary after that.
Love that is just absolutely amazing. So, given the musical background, given that storytelling background that you have, what would you say are some of the important aspects that you think make for a great color commentator? When it comes to storytelling, what are the things that somebody needs to have in the back of their mind?
Nuance. There's going to be a lot of things that the wrestlers can't tell you without using words, so it's our job to do it. And that's something like, just a quick little sidebar to that. Me and Carmen called a show this Sunday for Southern States Pro out here in Georgia. And he was just so giddy at the fact we were calling this match with Sal Renaro and Aaron Dallas. And he was just so giddy at the fact that he caught on to the limb manipulation story that they were telling. And just basically the way that Sal was dissecting Aaron's entire arm, starting at his fingers, going all the way to his tricep. And Carmen was in, dude. And he doesn't do color that often. Like he typically does play-by-play. But whenever he comes to Georgia, I go, I'm the play-by-play here, bitch. You fucking, you going to sit over there. You going to sit in the other chair is what you're going to do. When I go to Alabama, I'll do whatever you say. And he was just like, so he's used to being in that lead spot. So he doesn't get the opportunity sometimes to get to really dig into the stories. And he was just so pumped on it. And I'm watching him just like, I'm so pumped that he's so pumped. But it's little things like that, just being able to say what the wrestlers can't say because they're not allowed to say it. Just picking, just finding the nuances. And the most important thing is, and this is something that a lot of people that aren't wrestlers don't realize, it's not just broadcasters, it's referees, ring announcers, managers, everybody. You're not supposed to be over. They're supposed to be over.
Yeah.
And there's so many guys that get on a microphone, or even that don't, I've seen referees do it too, that think that they get to be over and they want to put themselves over. No, that's not what this is about. We're supposed to put them over. You get over by putting them over. And a lot of people just don't understand that part. Sure. I've sat next to so many people that just wanted to go into business for themselves, say shit that made themselves look cool. And it drives me nuts to no end, dude. This is not about us. This is about them. So those are the biggest things.
I mean, those are, I mean, very well said, very well said. So you've already kind of alluded to it, but we got to talk about this friendship with Carmen Childers. He is a former guest on our show, and I just, for those that have not
There
seen
it
our
is.
interview, it is on our archives as well. But I had to pull this up. This is, I mean, if there's ever a duo to book, from what I've been told, it is you two. Tell me about the first time you met Carmen Childers.
So we, funny enough, we met in one of Gabe Sapolsky's Twitter Spaces, the first one he did a couple of years ago.
Nice.
And Gabe did this thing where he told he's like, hey, if you're in here, make sure to go follow everybody else that's in here. And we started following each other and realized, he works in North Alabama. I'm based out of North Georgia. And we were just got interested in each other's work. It was because there's that possibility, hey, we might be able to work together someday. Sure. And we were both just fans of each other. And for, I'd say, at least 6 or 7 months, there were several periods where I was working big with this promotion called MEW that I at one point was helping with the creative with. I was the lead broadcaster with. I helped produce a couple of things for him. And he was doing New South, which I don't think people realize he's not just the ring announcer and commentator at New South. He runs everything production level at New South. Like, he's the guy. And we were both constantly trying to bring each other in. And I was supposed to get him into MEW to ring announce, and then the company just died a very unceremonious death. And he had sent me a shitload of New South dates, and I was like, dude, I don't have any of those until like July or something. This was February when he sent them to me. I was like, I don't have any of those for like 4 or 5 months. And then the company dies, and I went, hey, guess what, buddy? I just got some availability if you want to work this thing out. And yeah, they were supposed to, he might have talked about this with y'all. They were supposed to be trying out a bunch of different people. And then he told Dump, he was like, we got to move Rob to the front of the line. Trust me, we got to do it. And we go and I come in and do the first show, Southern Hostility of last year. And just, it was such a, whenever you break into the business, you make bucket list things. For a lot of wrestlers, this is a bucket list of people I want to wrestle. For me, it was very much promotions I want to work at. And New South was on that list. New South, when you're talking about Southeast promotions, that name still means a lot after almost 9 years now. And when I got there, we did the first half of the show, and I was nervous about it, and I don't get nervous super often, but just the second we hit the curtain, I was like, dude, this is different. It just felt different. And I felt like I was off my game, but I guess I wasn't to him, because we go to intermission, and then the second we take our headsets off, he goes, wait right here. And he just disappears. And I don't know what happened. I didn't find out till months later. He went straight to Dump and Brandon Williams, and it was like, that's the guy, stop looking. And then it's just been me and him ever since. And we've gotten the opportunity, as you saw on that graphic, there's 6 promotions on that graphic that we've called wrestling for. How many commentators do you know that can say that they work with the same person at 6 different promotions? And not to, I mean, I don't know this yet. I'm supposed to get a phone call from him after we get done with this interview. We might be adding number 7 in a couple of weeks, and it's not even in the Southeast. It's a whole nother territory. So
love it.
Hopefully we find out something about that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing I feel like Chris and I have learned in the time that we've interacted with you guys, this is probably one of our favorite wrestling bromances that we can possibly imagine. I mean, you guys are gym buddies. You travel together. I mean, you do. I mean, you guys are thicker than thieves. One of the things we've seen you guys do is post-production commentary on matches, which, for those that may not think about it, what would you say are some of the pros and cons of doing it in that aspect, as opposed to calling a match live and being in that element as far as a live crowd?
The pros are being able to do it in my underwear. That's fire. I love that. It's comfortability, and it's, we can get sent a show, and this happens. It sucks. Sometimes we'll get sent a show and just be like, I don't feel like dealing with that right now. We'll do that tomorrow. And like, he literally like just left the house today. He was here for an entire week, because we had a whole loop that we were doing together. Outside of one show, our Saturday night, we were in different places, but outside of that, we were together the entire week, and he was doing some acting out here in Atlanta. So we stayed together for a whole week, and we did some post-production while he was here. And it's like, it's nice because you can kind of just do whatever you feel like doing it. But really, I will always prefer doing it there, because you can feel it. It's in the room. There's a different energy to it. Sure. And it's way easier to get up for stuff whenever it's happening right in front of you. Whenever you're at home, you don't feel it as much. Now, with that being said, I challenge anybody to go find a match that we called live and go find one that we called in post and tell me the difference, because I don't think you'll be able to. I can tell you shows. I can tell you entire shows that we called completely in post, and I don't think you'd be able to tell. But yeah, I mean, I prefer to do it there, but sometimes, especially if it's a long drive I don't want to make, it's nice to just be able to do it at home in my jammies, you know?
Sure. Makes sense for sure. So in addition, actually, no, before I ask this next question, I did, so I found this tweet. This was from a couple of days ago. I very much want to get the story behind this. You reposted something of his. I really wanted to make sure that I asked this. So, what is the story behind breaking you on commentary?
I can show you if there's a way to screen share on here. I can actually show you. I have the clip right here.
So there's not a way to screen share, but actually, let's see how this works here.
Let me see.
We're gonna try this.
That doesn't.
I was gonna say, if you can't, then what we will do is if you want to send it to me, we can try it in post.
I'd love to know why my camera disappeared.
Good question.
Here we go. Hold up.
Yeah.
All right, we're good.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So I'll when we get done with this, I'll send it to you, and then you can just lay it. Yeah. You can just lay it here. But what happened was, backstory. I found out a couple of years ago that I have this innate ability to just absolutely destroy people and break them so bad on commentary. I found it out when I was doing the first Zicky Dice Outlandish Paradise show, which, if I'm not mistaken, I saw y'all's logo on for this.
Yeah, we are indeed sponsoring that show this weekend.
So we'll talk a little more about that. So for anybody that doesn't know, I did the first two as a puppet. And on the first show, I called one match. It was myself, Twitch streamer Grand Pooh Bear, and Johnny LaQuasta, who's former 205 Live commentator. And I found out I could break Johnny. And I didn't know it was possible because Johnny's a pro. Like, in my opinion, the benchmark of what a play-by-play commentator should be is Johnny LaQuasta. And I cracked him. And then it was my goal. And I was like, I'm going to see how much I can do that. And I found out I can do it a lot because I did it so much. And so ever since then, I've just been like, I want to sit down with a professional and just destroy them. It's my favorite thing to do. And I do it with Carmen all the time. So then when I start doing it with him, he's like, I'm going to get you back. And I'm like, you're not. Yeah. You can't. You physically can't. He's gotten me a couple of times. One of my favorite ones, I think one of the first like real good ones he got me with that I had to like go silent for was when we did the only TWE Crash Course show that went on IWTV, their Crash Course 1 year anniversary. Yeah. Big Dave was doing the spot where he like walks. He's doing the Mike Jackson spot where he walks across all the top rope all the way around. Yeah. And he just goes, I wasn't expecting to see Lucha Dave here. And then he just goes quiet for like 10 seconds and it just goes, Dave Gigante. And then I fucking fell over. That was so good. So this one specifically was from Southern States on Sunday.
Okay.
And there's this pastor there who's a manager for, like, he's got his own stable, Pastor Donald Jakes. And he's doing a sermon, and he's one of my favorite characters on the indies right now. He's doing this sermon, and he regularly says out of pocket shit during his sermon to like make you go like, what did that dude just say?
Yeah.
And he keeps talking about like he's got like the offering plate, and he's trying to get everybody like donate, and he keeps saying we need to plant our seed in the ministry. And I was like, what did that dude just? I was like, and I quoted Archer. I go, are we not doing phrasing or what? And then so he hands the offering plate to Josh Wheeler, who's the ring announcer and the promoter. Josh brings it over to us. And then I go, whoa, dude, you pay us, not the other way around. And then Carmen goes, I thought I was supposed to give you my seed. Dude, I killed over. I'm punching him in the leg. He got me so good. Like, I killed over on that one. But that's the story for that. And he tweeted it during the show. During the show, he tweeted that.
Well done.
He was so pumped on it. That was so good. He got me. He got me so good. He's gotten me a few times. Mose at TWE gets me because he just has all these like wild ass like 90s comedy references that nobody but me thinks about. Road Dogg got me just because he's the funniest son of a bitch in the world.
Facts.
Outside of that, I don't know too many people that can get me.
Okay. All right. I'm not so sure I want to invite you on the live stream then, because I'm usually the one that breaks. So.
Oh, I'll kill you, dude. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
You won't be able to talk. You won't be able to talk, especially after I get a few more of these.
That's bad.
You're
Okay.
done. You're
All
done.
Right. Well, you had my curiosity. Now you got my attention.
Sure.
But yeah, so coming up this weekend, we've talked a little bit about it. Zicky Dice's Outlandish Paradise from MomoCon Memorial Day weekend. Wrestling Junkies are one of the many sponsors there. You are going to be at the show. Unfortunately, we will not be able to attend this time. But you've done this. You've worked this show before. What can people expect out of this environment? Because Zicky Dice is, well, Zicky Dice.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. I tell people all the time. I don't know if anybody realized me and Zicky are really, really close. My first friend that I ever got when I broke into wrestling was Zicky.
Nice.
And we've hit the roads together so many times. He has done an awful lot for me. I've done a lot for you too, buddy. Don't forget who got you booked on Haas this year. But I love the guy to death. There it is right there. There's the poster. Yep. I'm a little upset commentary's not on there, but what are you gonna do?
Right.
It never is. But yeah, so me and Zicky are the only two people don't know this. We're the only two people that have done all four of those.
Oh, wow.
It's me and him. And this year I've kind of stepped up into more of like a right-hand man role for him.
Yeah.
And me and Carmen are going to be doing the commentary. Really, really pumped on that. And dude, as far as what to expect, I think a couple of years ago, it would have been a different story because the first show we did, it was just a special thing on Twitch. That was just a standalone show. And then a few months later, we did part 2 in Dallas for WrestleMania weekend. And then now we're doing them from MomoCon. And last year was kind of like a test drive. Like we were just uploading single matches up to the YouTube channel. You guys can still go check those out on Zicky's channel. Most of the matches were done by Brandon Benefield and Gerard Bonner, the Southern Honor commentary team. Love those guys to death. Big inspiration on both me and Carmen when we broke in. And then a handful of the matches are done by me and Carmen after the fact. Mm-hmm. But as far as what to expect, it's insanity. We're talking an anime convention in the center of Atlanta, Memorial Day weekend, tens of thousands of people. Like last year, the one that we did, and we were in probably the worst spot in the whole building. Like you had to walk all the way to the end of the convention. We were all the way in the back in a corner. Like we were not near anything.
So like, did you guys get a ballroom like all to yourselves or
nothing? We got nothing, dude. Like, we got changed out and like it just like the big open space, like where they put like the portable walls up. They put the portable walls up. We got changed in a big open space back here. We had to walk like 100 yards to get to a bathroom. It sucked. And they put us in like this weird spot way away from everything. We still had no less than 1,000 people surrounding that ring at all times.
Wow, that's awesome.
And it's so many fans, and a lot of them have never seen wrestling, or maybe they've casually seen it a little bit. There's not a lot of people going to this that are big hardcore wrestling fans because it comes with your price of admission to the convention. So it's a lot of anime fans, a lot of people that are going there wanting to meet their favorite voice actors or buy some art, stuff like that. And that's, to me, and I've got a chance to do a couple of these. I got to do this one last year with Zicky. And then last year, New South, we started our partnership with Comic-Con in Huntsville. So I've got to see a couple of these. And it's so much fun because this crowd wants to engage. They want to cheer for who's cool. They want to boo for the people they don't like. They want to make noise. And you don't have to do anything to get them to do it, man. I watched Big Trouble Ben Bishop pick up a lightsaber last year and make a He-Man reference. One of those things is not like the other. That crowd still popped like crazy. Like they knew. They were like, that's a lightsaber, great. But whatever, we'll let it go. And it just popped the room. Like Dale Springs, whose whole gimmick is he's a golfer, which should be the most boring thing you could think of. Dude, every time he wind that driver up, those people would go nuts. And it's awesome. It is such a fun environment for the wrestlers to just go and just try some funny stuff, some stuff that wouldn't work anywhere else.
Yeah.
And Zicky, dude, like I can't give anything away for what we've got planned this weekend, but I've looked at the card and there's stuff that like he's got booked for Saturday that I looked at him and I said, are you sure? Like, do we need to do all of that? Because that's insane. He's like, no, dude, it'll be cool. I'm like, I'm sure it'll be cool. But do we need, like, that's a lot. We're doing a lot. We are pulling out the stops this year. It's going to be insane.
I like it, and it it stinks that we won't be there, but we definitely plan on sponsoring again next year and
For
making the
sure.
trek. So,
For sure.
um, so one of the things that we were most excited, you just released some new merch on Pro Wrestling Tees. Finally have it here.
There it is.
You can pick it up now. The heart shirt. Let's get a better look at that logo here. The Broken Standard, Rob Weathers. You've gone through some personal changes this year and some growth and acceptance, talking about those colors with us and how you're feeling these days.
Man, I haven't really had the chance to talk about it yet. I have to sit up for this one. This is the first time I've really outside of making the announcement on Twitter, this is the first time I've really spoken about it. So yeah, I've known for over 10 years now that I wasn't straight. Sure. I kept that shit to myself because I grew up in a small rural town in Southeast Louisiana, and that's just not some kind of shit you say out loud.
Sure.
And I was scared to be myself. So I kind of just buried it deep, didn't think about it. And then I moved to Metro Atlanta. For anybody watching, I don't know what y'all know about Atlanta. Everybody's gay. Every single one of them. The whole town, they're all gay. So it's like, oh, okay, this is a little bit more my speed. Then just started over the last few years have told myself at some point I need to have this difficult conversation with myself. I need to be able to have it. There's two instances that made me go, okay, I need to accept this. The first one was, I don't know when it was, last year or the year before, but there was a Dark Side of the Ring episode about Chris Kanyon.
Oh, yeah.
And Chris Kanyon, for anybody that didn't see it or doesn't know, Chris Kanyon was a closeted gay man and was very late in his life until he finally came out. And when he did, professional wrestling was a very different time back then. People weren't as accepting as they would be now. And he hated himself. And I remember seeing that fucking segment they made him do on WWE where they had him dressed as Boy George and just had the Undertaker beat the shit out of him, and he hated himself for it. And he hated himself for who he was. And that's so heartbreaking. And Dark Side of the Ring will mess you up because it's all sad. Seriously. It's all just seriously just heart-wrenching stories. Dude, I was crying for an hour after that one because it's I knew in my heart, I felt some kind of similar way. And it broke me. It broke me so bad. And then I get into wrestling, which I don't want to harp on this, but I broke in South Georgia and Middle Georgia and a lot of, not super progressive places. So the first year or two, I was around a bunch of straight white guys. It is what it is. That's really it. Sure. But then I broke out in the North Alabama scene and then in Chattanooga with TWE. And that TWE made such an impact on me because not only do they have so many members of the LGBT community who are not just fans of the product, but also work there. They openly go pull up TWE on Twitter. The first pinned tweet you're going to see is Jaden Newman in the ring talking about how accepting they are and how they will not tolerate any kind of hate speech, homophobia, any of that. And that's really what that environment is. That's not just a speech for the sake of being a speech. That's really how they feel. I have watched security footage of Dylan Hales throwing people out of that damn building for being assholes. They don't play over there, dude.
Hell yeah.
And just being around those people, being around specifically, Sigrid and Eden and Finesse and so many other, athletes that have come through that locker room. Maybe for the first time really in a long time, I was able to put my guard down.
Oh yeah.
And I started having that conversation. Carmen was the first person to hear anything about it. And I talked with him for a couple of weeks before I told anybody else. Even my wife didn't know. I told Carmen before anybody. That's what that bromance runs deep. We don't play.
Yeah.
But and then I had a big loop, a 3 or 4 day loop. I do a lot of those now. And I had a practice run at Retinal on Sunday where I pulled Carmen to the side and my broadcast partner, Scotty Moore at Retinal, who is also a non-binary member of that community, and told them both privately that I was pansexual. And then the next day at TWE, and I love that I'm actually getting to tell the story because nobody knows what actually happened. I saw the tweet. I love that I'm getting to finally do this. TWE on the Monday shows, we have these Monday shows every other week where it's the trainees get to come in and just get a chance to get reps in front of a live crowd. I go out there, me and Carmen go out there and we'll help them run music, whatever they need, we're there to help them. And they do this meeting about a half an hour before the show starts every day where they just run down the card and everything. And I pulled Dylan Hales to the side, who is one of the bookers for TWE. Yeah. And I said, hey, when we have the meeting today, is it okay if I say something afterwards? And he was like, yeah, dude, of course. What's up? And I took a deep breath and I said, I'm ready to come out and this is where I want to do it. And he just, huge smile on his face. He pulled me in for a hug. That's and he said, absolutely. And so we do the meeting. Him and the Rev go over everything on the show. And then he just goes, all right, Rob's got something he wants to say to you guys. And I froze. I went, oh shit, did I say that? Oh man, I didn't mean it. Like, and I just sat there and I just started shaking. I was like, ooh, this is not as easy as I thought it was going to be. And, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I basically just told everybody, that I love the environment that they've created there. And I love how comfortable it has made everybody else feel to be their real selves. And now I finally, for the first time in my life, feel comfortable out loud saying that I'm pansexual. And everybody started clapping, which I thought was weird at the time. And then and I just told, just kind of was like, I love you guys. Thank you for everything. And then everybody, I almost fell down because they all, Aaron Wade tackled me to give me a hug. Yeah. And everybody else just kind of followed suit. And just after that, I made the tweet and put it up and just had the gif of the flag, and it's, ever since then, it's just been, like I said earlier, I feel like I've finally been able to put my guard down, which has been, if you can ask Carmen, the first year he knew me is completely different from right now. Like I don't like letting people in. I've never liked, I grew up with, even my best friends were the biggest assholes in the world when I was a kid. Like I could not, you couldn't let them in, dude, because they use everything against you just for a joke. And now I feel like I'm finally get to just be me, and it's really nice, and I like it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful, and that's one of the stories that somewhere someone out there is appreciating that you're telling that story for sure.
I mean, I saw something today. Sigrid shared a tweet just a couple hours ago that somebody DM'd her and it was a similar story to myself and mentioned themselves as an out pansexual person and how their story of being transgender in pro wrestling and the hurdles that they go through, how that inspired them. And that's beautiful, man. And that's exactly what happened with me, and that's what happened with me is like Sigrid, like myself, 33 years old later in life until they made their transition, and it's, I mean, if we're being completely honest, I probably shouldn't say this out loud. The reason I was going to wait to come out, I had a plan. I told Carmen I was supposed to wait a couple of more weeks, but everybody had noticed all of the flirty shit I was saying to Eden Monroe. And I was like, I should probably say something out loud soon. I was like, they kind of get it at this point, so I should probably just say something.
And the shit talking comes back.
And there it goes.
And we're back.
That's a shoot. That's real as hell.
Hey, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. That was absolutely wonderful, and thank you for telling your story. We are kind of coming to the end of the interview here. We've been talking all things the Broken Standard for 33 minutes. I'm now going to give you the spotlight, and I want you to shine it on whether they're wrestlers, referees, commentators, broadcasters, anybody in wrestling that you think deserves their flowers, who is going to have a great 2024. You can't include Carmen because we already, that you've talked enough about him already, so he doesn't count here today, okay?
Well, he's going to get it. Just real quick, though, Carmen is a real one, and he is the man, and he's the best at all things. But outside of that, I don't need to harp on that anymore. I do that all the time. Dude, there's so many people. So, pro wrestling, especially here in the Southeast, is so blessed right now with the level of talent that we've got. And I'm so thankful being at TWE because I get to see, I don't know what Jaden's putting in the water over there, but Jaden Newman's the best damn trainer in the world because not only is he producing talented wrestlers, they all have something that a lot of younger people in this business are missing right now, and it's respect. Whenever we're just, I don't peel the curtain back too often, but a quick peel behind the curtain.
Sure.
I needed to find some people to help me out with some stuff at Zicky Dice's show this weekend. I only asked people from TWE. That's all that I asked because I knew I could trust them. Everybody there, I absolutely love. One guy that I really, really want to put over right now, who, like myself, broke into the business late in his life, is a guy named Will Still, who has been training over at TWE, doing those Monday night shows, just showing up and busting his ass no matter what gets handed to him. He does it, and he does it with a smile on his face. Finally got to have his Saturday night debut at 6s and 7s this past Saturday. I got to call his match with Casey Owens, and I legitimately was crying by the end of it, because this is a guy whose progression I got to watch. I got to watch him just a few months in, just taking his first several bumps.
Sure.
And then now he's on Saturday night. He's on IWTV. And he's with Casey Owens, who's another guy I'm going to put over so big.
Okay.
Because people don't realize Casey Owens, what he means specifically to TWE. That is, if you want to branch from the Monday night crash course training shows to the Saturday night shows on IWTV, that's the guy that's got to get you there. You got to go through him. And he takes that job so seriously, and he's so selfless, which is not something you see in wrestling a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
He takes care of everybody before himself. And I watched that match he had with Will, and just the way that he just made Will look like this massive star. And Will could have done it on his own, but having Casey give him the nudge was even that much better. Those are two people. And I know, forget about what I said earlier, but Eden's another one. Like, honest to God, such an unbelievable talent who I've got to see grow, not just as a wrestler, but I mean, as a person. I was there when the transition for them happened. I got to see it firsthand, and the growth that they've had, not just as a wrestler, but as a person. And I'm glad to call them my friend. And I mean, just has wrestled more in that building in Chattanooga than anybody else has, is defending their championship every Monday show and every Saturday show. I listed this stat on the 6s and 7s show that we just filmed, which hopefully by the time this comes out should be on IWTV. It'll be up any day now. But Eden Monroe has had the Gig City Championship for less than 6 months and has defended it almost as much, if not as much, as Darian Bingston has defended his TWE Heavyweight Championship, and he's had his for 12 months.
Oh, wow.
That's insane.
Wow.
That's insane. And that is, and Eden gets so much better every time they get in the ring, and it's so awesome to see. And they're super cute. Regardless, another person, bring it over to Alabama for a second, Big Dave.
Yeah.
Big Dave, I have said a million times, the sky's the limit for that guy. He is unbelievably good in the ring, and just a few years in, just understands the psychology of wrestling so well. And I've never seen a guy, the biggest thing with Dave, and he taps into a market that a lot of people that break in now don't want to think about. The kids love Dave. I remember we did a show at a high school last year, and the second his face popped up on the projector screen and they heard that cowbell ringing behind the curtain, dude, kids went nuts. Kids went nuts. He's just got this, he's got this aura, and just the whole biggest man alive gimmick. It's so simple, but it's so goddamn good. It's so goddamn good. Now, the opposite of putting over, I want to talk about two people real quick, Marcus Dillon and Negative Lee. You eliminated me from the Bunkhouse Stampede, my debut in a professional wrestling ring. I finally did it, Mr. Cincinnati. I've been in business 3.5 years. I finally got to get in the ring.
I did see that,
You sons of bitches eliminated me. Marcus Dillon, you had to kick me in the nuts. Damn, son, them right hands hurt that bad? Them right hands hurt that bad? You had to kick me in the nuts? I'm not a wrestler. You could have just hit me back, right? Nah, dude, you too big of a bitch to do that. You got to go low. You and your boy Lee had to throw me over the top rope. I'm not putting either one of y'all over. So I told you after that show, at some point, I don't know when, I don't know where, I don't know if New South will let it happen. Retno might let it happen. TWE might let it happen. But one of these days, I'm going to get my hands on you again. And it's going to hurt a hell of a lot more than it did last time.
If you need a sponsor, let us know.
No, I'd say. I'm calling you guys first.
Throwing that out there.
But that's, dude, there's so many people in this business that I love.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact I miss so many. There's so many up and coming kids that I love so much. I mean, the people that got me where I am, Doc Gallows, I love so much. Luke, whatever the hell you're going by now, buddy. Yeah. You forgot about me when you went back to the WWE. Boy, it's okay. I don't blame you. You're busy now. It's fine. I love you still. Bob Keller for putting me on commentary, who I get to see again this weekend. He's bringing the ring for ZDOP. Love that guy so much. Thank Jaden Newman and Dylan Hales at IWTV for letting me just spread my wings over there. And I could at TWE. Dylan works for IWTV too. I get confused, but just let me spread my wings over there and just believing in me. I love those guys. Dump Sanders and Brandon Williams and everybody else at New South. Max Classic at Retinal. There's so many people that have just been so important in my career, and I've missed a lot of people, but I love every single one of you. Just know it.
Love it. Yeah, covered all the bases there and made me laugh and cry all at the same time. You have answered every question beautifully so far. We got one final question that we ask every guest on this show. You are no different. And I'm sure that Chris is going to be pissed he's not here for this one. But we're keeping a running tally. So when you hear the moniker Mr. WrestleMania, is it Shawn Michaels or The Undertaker?
Shawn Michaels.
Thank God. Like, you didn't even bat an eye.
Shawn Michaels.
You see that, Chris?
Undertaker had his undefeated streak. Okay. How many of those were good?
Yeah.
Can I tell you which ones were good? The ones with Shawn Michaels sure as hell were.
Yeah. Triple H's, those were good. Yeah.
Those were good. Those are good. CM Punk's wasn't bad. The Edge one I liked a lot.
That was a fun match.
The Randy Orton one could have been better. Batista I loved. I loved the Batista one. But like the first 10, they sucked. They sucked. Shawn Michaels, how many bad WrestleMania matches did that guy have?
I mean, even the one when he knows that he's done was like, you could still do a film study on that one. So it's hard to say. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, now Shawn's a little self-indulgent, you know. I don't think about Shawn the same way I used to, but I mean, still, if we're talking, I mean, it was literally his nickname.
Yeah.
There's a reason.
Yeah. It's just a debate that we happen to have on this show, and you were on the right side of that debate, my friend.
I know it.
Holy shit. I gotta say, this has been just a fantastic 40 plus minutes with you. I'm so glad that we finally got to do this.
Before we let you go, I will do it any day.
Good. Yeah, no, we'll give you a live mic. Absolutely.
Those are my favorite.
Yeah. Before we let you go, where can everybody find you on social media?
At Sweet Sexy Rob, which I have to make sure to tell everybody this. I did not give myself that nickname. Gallows did, while I'm sure he was drunk. You can go to my YouTube channel, which is also called Sweet Sexy Rob, and can actually find the video of Gallows calling me that in his Vince McMahon voice while very drunk at Talking Shop Live in Baltimore. Sweet Sexy Rob, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, but TikTok put I think it's like a Sweet Sexy Rob 29 or some shit like that. Nice. Somebody stole my gimmick, brother. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, that's everywhere. Please pick up a shirt at prowrestlingtees.com/Rob Weathers. Me and Carmen don't have shoot jobs. This is our jobs. Please buy a shirt or I can't pay my water bill. The new Heart shirt looks fire, doesn't it? Pick it up.
It is. Yeah. We got you for sure, man. This was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. You'll absolutely be back. For Sweet Sexy Rob Weathers, I'm Mr. Cincinnati. Thank you for watching this episode of the Wrestling Junkies Podcast, and we'll talk to you guys soon.